It's May 4th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a ceremony that ended in collapse, an explosion that mimicked the unthinkable, and a protest that erupted into chaos. Let's begin. On May 4th, 1873, a quiet Sunday afternoon in Dixon, Illinois, began like any other, peaceful and expectant. More than 200 people gathered on the Truesdell Bridge, leaning over the irons to watch a baptism in the waters of the River Rock below. Families stood shoulder to shoulder, children laughed. No one noticed the faint, unnatural groan at their feet. At exactly 1:15 p.m., a sharp crack split through the air. The iron lattice twisted and then gave way. In an instant, the entire crowd plunged downward, dragged into the river as heavy iron structure collapsed on top of them. Beneath the surface, people became trapped, like a tangled grid of metal, just inches below air they could not reach. Witnesses would later describe the scene as something unnatural, a mass of bodies moving beneath the water, then slowly going still. 46 people died that day, most of them women and children. But in the chaos, one act of instinct became something unforgettable. A grandmother, Kristen Globe, felt the structure give way. In her final moments, she thrusted her 3-year-old granddaughter, Gertie, away from the falling iron. She disappeared beneath the wreckage, and Gertie survived. She became known as the littlest survivor, pulled from the water, while the town searched desperately for the dead. All around them, survivors clung to broken planks, floating fragments of the bridge that had just betrayed them. One man even saved 16 lives, using nothing more than a piece of wood. That day, they would never forget what happened beneath the surface, and a place that was meant for faith became something far darker. On May 4th, 1988, the desert air outside of Henderson, Nevada, shimmered with heat and something else. At the Pepcon plant, a fire had already begun to creep through its stored chemicals. Workers moved carefully, trying to control it. Sparks from welding torches flickered against the damaged steel, small ordinary flames that should have meant nothing, but inside, the facility sat tons of rocket fuel. The first explosion came without warning. A violent shockwave tore through the plant, sending debris into the sky. Workers ran, some didn't stop running, while others hesitated just seconds too long. Then, the second blast. It was so powerful, it registered like an earthquake. Windows shattered miles away, cars were thrown, and people were knocked off their feet. Witnesses said it looked like a nuclear detonation, an expanding cloud rising over the desert. Nearby buildings collapsed, including an entire factory that simply disappeared in the blast. And yet some survived on pure instinct. A handful of workers had fled moments before the largest explosion, escaping the firestorm that would have consumed them completely. Others were not so lucky. A man-made forest unleashed in seconds, and it was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in American history, triggered by a single spark. On May 4th, 1886, as a light rain fell over Haymarket Square in Chicago, there was a small crowd gathering under the streetlights. It was supposed to be peaceful. Workers stood listening to speeches, calling for something simple, an 8-hour workday. The mood was calm, almost fading. Some had already begun to leave, and the night felt like it was ending. And then, at 10:20 p.m., the sound of boots broke quiet. Nearly 200 police officers marched forward and ordered the crowd to disperse. For a moment, everything was still. Then, the explosion came. A blast tore through the police line. The sound echoed off the building, louder than thunder, followed by something even more terrifying. Gunfire. Shots erupted in every direction. In the chaos, no one knew who was firing at whom. Survivors would later swear that the police, blinded by panic and smoke, had fired at their own ranks. Others claimed the attackers were everywhere and nowhere. When it was over, the streets was filled with wounded. 7 officers dead. Civilians lie among them, dozens more injured. And the bomber, gone. No face, no name, no answer. And in the days that followed, something darker. 8 men were arrested, but none were proven to have thrown the bomb, and 4 would be executed anyways. So now, the question lingers in the silence of that rainy night, who really lit the fuse? Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.